And I guess, I mean, obviously the theme of the day is weather on an incredible track. That's like the big positive, actually. Yes, weather sounds like a negative. But with the weather brought, what I guess the biggest frustration is them having this condensed schedule, lots of riders, which the organizers have spoken about. The other thing which keeps coming up is we've got a junior category. Now, like it or not, it's there. Agree with it or not, it is there. Other sports have, other categories. I'm at the point that obviously Worlds is a longer week, so it probably costs more. And then devil's advocate, you can then space the schedule out to maybe have more time to make changes and have these sort of issues come about. But I guess with a condensed schedule set on paper, is that then you're forced to make these changes on the fly and lose a practice schedule and all those things. It's like a byproduct of having a tight schedule.
I don't know. I fear I'm a little bit more cynical than you, Andrew. If we were in a different sport or a different industry, let's imagine we're in the military. You plan an exercise, you plan for dry weather, and then you've got your plan B. What happens if it rains? What happens if the vehicles get stuck? What happens if Private Jones gets injured? You make these plans. And at the start, you said last year there was issue with access. There was issue with, medics. That was raised last year. There was nothing changed. So there was no improvement for access. There was no improvement for medics. There was no improvement trackside. None of those changes and those things that ultimately forced the cancellation of the junior race were implemented. And practice, to give people a bit of an overview, we have 2 practice sessions on the first day. We've got A practice and B practice. B practice has a couple of hours, then A practice. And then in the afternoon, it repeats, but it's a timed session. And what they decided was after that morning practice, they decided there would be no afternoon practice at all. And that was to preserve the track and allow the track to be worked on. So we sort of understood that. And we're like, fine, there's some big problems. The bottom berm that you would have seen before what is now a bridge over the double, that was a complete mess. You couldn't even really get around that corner. And first thing in the morning, we were expecting updates. Right, what's happened? What have you done to the track? And they said, you need to wait for your updates. Everything was pushed back again to allow track maintenance. And I went up there and nothing had been done. The same tire tracks that were there the day before were still there. And my understanding from a reliable source is that there were 6 track builders working on the track, and that's all. And they were patting down mud. They weren't scraping it off. And you just could tell straight away we're going to have the same problem. So during that practice session, unfortunately, they had to red flag the practice for 15, 20 minutes to allow them to work on the track. So a lot of riders and teams were very frustrated because we were saying, well, why did you cancel all the afternoon practice? Surely you should have had an army of people up there, modifying the track, scraping it off. And they ended up building a bridge over the double because it wasn't clearable at the very end, but didn't tell anyone. That wasn't communicated to riders. And I had to reach out to the organization to say, you need to tell the riders you've now put, essentially a bridge over this double. And they were like, well, why? Why do we need to? Really? Do we really need to do that? And I was like, yeah, you really do. Because unless you've got staff on track updating you personally, you're going to come into that final corner and go, whoa, there's a big change here. What's going on? So I think that caused some real concerns. And without turning this into a monologue, I think reaching back to your point on the juniors, the poor juniors, they practiced in the worst conditions and their race was at the end of the day. And the track was dusty. I did a track walk with a whole load of elite men. There was a big group of us walking down the track together and we were sidelined and it was dry tires. So they practiced in probably flat pedals and spikes and raced on dry tires and clips. It was very, very tricky for them, very hard.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that they didn't want to cancel the junior race. So then the juniors had to qualify. But I don't know, without being there, I was like, shucks, maybe we should just cancel the junior qualifying, allowed more practice and had like a little bit more of a schedule. Again, like, look, it's coming up ad nauseum and I appreciate what you're sharing because I guess we all watch the broadcast. We all see amazing riders racing. And I guess that to me is also the story. Like, I can't believe how adaptable professional sportsmen are and team managers and mechanics. Like, isn't that the story? Is like everyone was thrown curveballs. I'm not, going to get too into nitty gritty because I wasn't there. It's just not fair for me. But like, it's just like so many curveballs, from weather, from maybe understaffed, from not predicting the weather, like whatever it may be. There's always a reason behind it.